Hello and welcome to the Women in Motorsport program. I'm Isha Azim, and with me, I have Ben Schneider from Grid Live Encore and LastCar.info, as well as Joe Samaniego. As always, a big thank you to our Patreon investors, Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew for their monthly investments. You too can invest in the Grid Network by clicking on the link in the video description. Or you can always do a one-time investment through Buy Me a Coffee or YouTube. Thanks. And be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our amazing content throughout the week. Now, for today's show, we have a lot to talk about. For example, another championship weekend, a historic win for the Iron Dames, and as Ben will now recap, that Formula One Academy 2023 season.
Thank you, Isha. Yes, the 2023 season for F1 Academy ended at Circuit of the Americas. 2024 is starting to shape up, but let's talk about our 2023 champion, Marta Garcia. She is on her way to Formula Regionals in 2024 with full backing from F1 Academy for her team. Now, she had 7 wins this season as well as 12 podium finishes in total compared to her 3 seasons in the W Series where she had 1 win and 1 additional podium in each of the 3 seasons that she competed in with 20 races total during that time. Isha, we'll start with you. Is Marta Garcia indicating that F1 Academy is working so far in providing a level of long-term opportunity for these drivers beyond just F1 Academy?
Yes, I think so. I think it's easy to see the effects of the Formula One Academy in pushing more females into higher levels of the Formula Series. And with this first opportunity, I think of it as a sort of domino effect for her, where, the Formula One Academy provided this first opportunity for her. And then after this, everything's just going to be knocked into place for her. And as we can see, she's already lined up to be in the Formula Regionals for the upcoming 2024 season. So I think that, it's telling to see Formula One provide the academy providing these opportunities for her. And then we all know it's just the first season. So after this, it's going to be interesting to see what other opportunities they're able to provide for the rest of the champions and for all of the coming drivers in the next few seasons.
I would have to agree that right now, what we're seeing going to Formula Regionals being announced so shortly after being crowned a champion, that's already a step in the right direction. As we know, Jamie Chadwick took a while till we heard anything. Of course, the pandemic definitely screwed up a lot of plans for a lot of drivers out there. But overall, it seems like we're making a step in the right direction because you have the Formula One teams, the FIA, they're really behind this as well. So they're going to make things happen to get the back end. I think is really a great step. The other thing that I think really stood out, as you mentioned, Ben, was the stats where she really excelled this year. And we saw so many different drivers. I feel it just seems something where at first with the W Series, the idea that everyone had the same team, same mechanic, they would switch around a very equal basic playground. We only saw really a handful of drivers dominate, where this one, look what she done in her first year compared to in the W Series. Hardly anyone was talking about her. I think this has really done a good job elevating almost all the drivers in the series. And big thing too, yeah, there's still the money barrier, but we know that has been greatly reduced. It's still not the same as W Series, but I feel at least for Marta Garcia has to feel really good knowing what she's doing in 2024, and it seems like it's starting to go off much smoother than the W Series did.
Yeah, well, to your point, Joe, of course, Jamie Chadwick was the champion for all 3 seasons there. She was unable to move up after winning her first and even her second championship in W Series and was faced with really no other options but to come back. So the fact that Marta Garcia can move on to something that will hopefully lead to an even bigger and better opportunity down the road beyond just what she's got for 24 is certainly a good sign, I believe. So I'll agree with both of you on that. Now let's look at some of the other drivers in the field this year. Hamda Alkabaizi won the second race and took third in the championship just behind Lena Buller, who came home in second. Jessica Edgar won the final race, her first win in the F1 Academy. All told, 9 different winners were seen in F1 Academy this year. And so far, we have one driver who is confirmed to be returning to the series. That would be Bianca Bustamante, who will be driving for ART with backing from McLaren. Each F1 team will nominate a driver in the field, and McLaren have chosen Bustamante for their team. Now, Joe, which drivers do you think are most likely to be nominated and back in F1 Academy next season for 2024?
The first one I'm looking at is Abby Pullen. One of the things we know, her connections, her relationships with Alpine F1. This year wasn't exactly the best year for her. A lot of people anticipate coming into the season she was going to go out there, get wins, be a contender because she came so close in the W Series. it just never materialized. Didn't exactly have that great of a season. I totally see her coming in. She's very young, very talented. I think she has a lot of positive momentum to get that redemption. Emily Duhaus, I think she could be back next year too. One of the things I'm looking at with her, especially with her racing background, I would not be surprised if Red Bull thinks about looking into her. One of the big things, she got that win. I think that really silenced a lot of doubters that were thinking maybe she was just not cutting it in the W Series again. It just seems in the W Series where you had a small handful of drivers that just seemed to get things going. She got that win. Didn't exactly have the best season. Overall, I think those are two drivers easily that should be there. I'd love to see Lena Bullard come back. If that was something maybe Mercedes was looking at as well, to be the driver for them, that'd be wonderful. The Kabasi sisters, those two were just really talented. And of course, we're going to have multiple drivers out there trying to get a role with each F1 teams. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens next year as more details come out about the 2024 season. But really, those are the two drivers I feel safe to say they will be back next year.
Well, certainly a big season ahead for F1 Academy in 2024. We're excited to be following it and looking ahead for what the series has planned for next year. We also had a big weekend for the Iron Dames as they made some history on the sports car side of things. Isha, I'll turn it over to you for updates on that.
Yes, Ben, that's right. The Iron Dames continue to make history as they become class winners at the 8 Hours of Bahrain. Now, Sarah Bovey took the pole for the final GTE race, and with Michelle Gadding and Rahel Frey sharing the driving duties, victory in GTE. Now, vice champions as they finished P2 in LMGTE in their Porsche 911. So, Joe, the Iron Dames program capped GTE with a win. How big is that accomplishment?
To cap it off with a win at this race was very huge for the program. We know this program, when it started up, they were just looking for finishing the races, but they've slowly been building up the results to where they got the wins. And co-champion is just very huge for everybody because we've known, very similar to the Iron Dames, there was a Richard Mill team, which we had 3 drivers there too. You were looking at Tatiana Calderon, Sophia Fleurs, and one other driver. I'm sort of blanking out who that was. They were out there racing LMP2 cars. They got a lot of attention. They got a couple of good results. Bicycle Visser, that's who the third driver was, excuse me. They got some good results here and there, but that program is no longer around. The Iron Dames, they're still around, thankfully, and they're really showing what they could do out there. They're a talented group of drivers with the full back and the full support. They can go out there, get wins. They had that heartbreak earlier in the season where they were so close to win, but then just bad luck bit them. Now to get the win, and especially in the last race, I think it really just almost seems almost like a storybook where, we were talking about GTE, the long history. A lot of people remember it as some of the best racing we saw. And to see the Iron Dames close that out with a win, very huge monumental moment. And I think it'll just go down as one of their first accomplishments of many more to come because it seems this program's not going away anytime soon.
Definitely, Joe. And if we take a look at another Iron Dames driver, we have Doriane Pin, who was crowned the FIA World Endurance Championship Revelation of the Year. The award acknowledges outstanding newcomers in endurance racing. She raced with Prima Racing and finished second at Sebring for LMP2. Now, considering her accomplishments, including a full season in LMP2 with Prima, a team that has launched some drivers to Ferrari, could Doriane Pin potentially be considered for Hypercar? Joe, what do you think?
I think easily she could be considered. I don't know what will exactly be for the next upcoming season, 2024, but big picture, she was doing really great stuff in LMP2 this year. Why not consider her? I think Ferrari, they'll see the popularity of her, the talent she has at such a young age. And she's also done races in IMSA, WEC, all this. She has done the Ferrari Challenge before. It just seems to make sense. The question is how soon? Because I think as Ben and I've talked about, you don't want a driver to be rushed up.
Yeah, well, Joe, you took the words right out of my mouth right there. I think it's easy to forget, with how much we've been talking about Doriane Pin on this show and how much she's already accomplished. She's still only 19. She turns 20 this offseason. So I think to your point and to the point that we've made, in the last few weeks here, just talking about her accomplishments and how great it is to see what she's done already. We've seen that mistake that owners and team management have made before with young drivers, and seeing the potential and saying, okay, great, let's go straight to the top level. In this case, potentially hypercar here, and that jump ends up being made too quickly. And sometimes, it's a rough couple of years, but the driver does eventually still meet that potential. I'm thinking, Joey Logano on the Cup side of things, I think Gibbs promoted him way too early. But he was able to work through it, find a home with Team Penske. Now he's a two-time Cup Series champion. Some drivers aren't able to overcome that. If you want another NASCAR example, I feel like Reed Sorensen was probably moved up a little bit too early with Ganassi. Never really found his footing in the Cup Series, bounced around a little bit, went back down to Nationwide at the time, but, never really broke through at the top level. And I feel like is kind of a wasted talent that, doesn't get remembered as well as he potentially should have. Doriane Pin, I think, has shown amazing potential in the GTE class. And, even with Iron Dames, winning a race, that is a huge accomplishment, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. I just don't know that I would make that jump to hypercar this early. But I'll tell you what, the accomplishments that they've had this year with that team, it certainly doesn't hurt to have on the resume. And I think it's something that they can keep in their back pocket, so to speak, and Doriane Pin in particular, for a potential hypercar drive, maybe 2 to 3 years down the road, like you were mentioning, Joe. Maybe that is a better timeline for her long-term success if she decides sports car racing is where she's going to make her home for her racing career.
Definitely, Ben. It's really important for drivers to take their time going up that ladder of success just to ensure that they're able to have a full and healthy career. And now, if we take a look at the Women with Drive Summit, the Iron Dames got a huge cheer from everyone attending. Now, the summit wrapped up Wednesday, and a link to their YouTube channel is in the video description, where you can find all the general sessions from the summit as well. Now, we know Erica Enders could not attend the summit, but she has a championship this weekend. And now, moving into the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association final weekend is here, and the championship is on the line. Starting with Top Fuel, the fastest class, Leah Pruitt enters third in the points, 34 points behind. She can still take the championship title as the event on Panoma awards more points, with 150 going towards the winner, 30 for the first round losers, and 10 for anyone who attempts to qualify. Now, Brittany Force, the defending champion's title defense is pretty much over. So, Joe, how will you remember Brittany's title defense, and how big of a threat are they in 2024?
Brittany Force, it's just one of those deals where this was such a competitive season overall this year in Top Fuel that at the end of the day, it's just one of those deals they missed out this year. The big surprise, I think, for everyone has been Leah Pruitt, considering last year wasn't exactly there at all for title contention. This year has a very real shot at getting this title because, as you mentioned, 34 points behind. For anyone that attempts to qualify, they're all going to get 10 points. If she makes it out of the first round and the playoff folks ahead of her, Steve and all of them, don't get out, all of a sudden she's in a really good position to get her first Top Fuel championship. And that'll be huge for that team, which of course Tony Stewart's involved with. So overall, I think this is just one of those deals that the competition level across all the classes in the NHRA really, but especially in Top Fuel, it is so close to competition for Brittany Force. Nothing they could be ashamed of. It always stings to not to repeat, but they'll be just as strong, her and that Force racing team in 2024.
And now taking a look at Erica Enders, so from Top Fuel to Pro Stock, Erica Enders enters with a 114-point advantage. She will clinch the championship if she makes it out of round 1. She's looking for her 6th title and is the winningest female in the NHRA history, tying her with Warren Johnson from Pro Stock and the legendary Kenny Bernstein. So Joe, does Erica have one hand on the championship?
Easily, I would say yes. Unless for some reason she fails to qualify, which would be an absolute disaster, and then everyone essentially does what they need to do, win the race, 150 points. That's the only way I really see her losing the championship, because as soon as she makes it into that second round, she has it wrapped up. There's no way she could be overtaken. But that said, though, even if she doesn't make it out of the first round, she qualifies to get in, but does not advance into the second round, still the big thing for her, don't have anyone else behind you go out there and catch up. At 115 points, it will take an absolute disaster of a weekend for her. I know she mentioned at the Women with Drive Summit she was supposed to be there. She couldn't make it, but at the end of the day, to get another championship, especially the sixth championship on what has been a record-setting year for her, it's definitely the big picture, and it will be interesting to see what happened as we'll recap that next week on this program. Now we're just about all out of the time on this episode, but we still have our one shining moment from the past few weeks have been on the air, but we encourage everyone, share in the comments your one shining moment. Isha, starting with you, what is your one shining moment?
For my one shining moment, I have a tie, so I'll make it quick so I can talk about both. For one of them, I'm going to say the Iron Dames making history. Obviously, that's amazing to see. And then with that, I also want to mention Marta Garcia and her, announcing that she's going to be in the Formula Regionals for the 2024. I know we talked about this earlier in the episode, but I still think it's really amazing the opportunities that the drivers from the Formula One Academy are getting, and I'm just really excited to see what else the Formula One Academy produces as the seasons go by.
Well, obviously the Iron Dames, I think, are the clear and obvious choice for the one shining moment, winning the GTE finale. So I will give them that. But I also want to talk a little bit about Red Bull Racing, and I know that obviously we have really lauded and praised them for everything that they've done this year and just absolutely dominated the scene in Formula One. I want to give a call to Hannah Schmitz. She's one of the top race strategists over at Red Bull Racing, and somebody that I don't think we've been talking enough about in terms of who's contributing to this run of dominance that Max Verstappen and Red Bull have been on. Give Hannah Schmitz her due as well. That is a very important job for any Formula One team, and she is doing it better than most ever could say they have. And just as everybody else at Red Bull Racing is absolutely dominating this season, Hannah Schmitz has been a big part of that. That's a shining moment in my book for the 2023 season.
And one of the big things, both of them, the Iron Dames, Hannah Schmidt, both recognized at the Women with Drive Summit, and that is my one shining moment this week, the third annual Women's with Drive Summit put on by the Women's in Motorsports North America. Huge turnout, 450. They got a sold-out crowd, and they announced that in 2024 they're going to be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and their goal have 800 in attendance. Very big moment and a lot of great presentations. Encourage everyone, check out their channel, check out their presentation. You'll learn so much, and it's just so exciting to see how the motorsports industry, there were folks from Formula One, Le Mans, NASCAR, IndyCar, all there. People as young as 10 years old saying they are motivated to go into motorsports. It is just a wonderful thing. I encourage you to check that out. That is my one shining moment. And we encourage everyone to subscribe. Hit that bell icon. We'll be on the air tomorrow for Grid Live pre-race. We only have MotoGP this weekend, but Julia will be on the air. We're going to go in depth for the upcoming race weekend in Malaysia. And of course, we all do this. And thanks to our Patreon subscribers, calling the show, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. You too can invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Hit the bell icon once again on the YouTube channel to subscribe. And while you're watching us on YouTube, we might not be on the air live, but you'll see that thanks button. You could submit a contribution through the YouTube thanks or buy me a coffee. You could give a cup of coffee to a particular member of the Grid Network team, and they'll thank you on the air, because at the end we do this because we love motorsports. We love bringing the coverage to you, the viewers. For Isha and Ben, I'm Joe. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the races. Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.